Hello, family. God bless you. We continue with the book of Enoch, chapter 73. And after this law, I saw another law dealing with the smaller luminary, which is named the moon. And her orbit is like the sphere of heaven, and her chariot in which she rides is driven by the wind, and light is given to her in measurement. And her rising and setting change every month, and her days are like the days of the sun. And when her light is uniformly full, it amounts to the seventh part of the light of the sun. And thus she rises, and her first phase in the east comes out on the 30th morning, and on that day she becomes visible and constitutes for you the first phase of the moon on the 30th day together with the sun in the door where the sun rises. And the one half of her goes out by a seventh part, and her whole disk is empty, without light, with the exception of 1/7 part of it, and the 14th part of her light. And when she receives 1/7 part of the half of her light amounts to 1/7 part and the half thereof. And she sets with the sun, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with him, and receives the half of 1 part of light. And in that night, in the beginning of her morning, in the beginning of the lunar day, the moon sets with the sun and is visible that night with the 14 parts and the half of one of them. And she rises on that day with exactly a seventh part, and comes out and recedes from the rising of the sun. And in her remaining days, she becomes bright in the remaining 13 parts. Chapter 74. And I saw another course, a law for her, and how according to that law she performs her monthly revolution. And all these Uriel, the holy angel who is the leader of them all, showed me, and their positions. And I wrote down their positions as he showed them to me. And I wrote down their months as they were, and the appearance of their lights until 15 days were accomplished. In single seventh parts she accomplishes all her light in the east, and in single seventh parts accomplishes all her darkness in the west. In a certain month she alters her settings, and in a certain month, and in certain months she pursues her own peculiar course. In 2 months, the moon sets with the sun. In those 2 middle doors, the third and the fourth, she goes out for 7 days and turns about and returns again through the door where the sun rises. And all her light is full, and she recedes from the sun. And in 8 days enters the 6th door from which the sun goes out. And when the sun goes out from the 4th door, she goes out 7 days until she goes out from the 5th and turns back again in 7 days into the 4th door and accomplishes all her light. And she recedes and enters into the 1st door in 8 days. And she returns again in 7 days into the 4th door from which the sun goes out. Thus I saw their positions, how the moon rose and the sun set in those days. And if 5 years are added together, the sun has an excess of 30 days. And all the days which accrue to it for one of those 5 years, when they are full, amount to 364 days. And an excess of the sun and of the stars amounts to 6 days. In 5 years, 6 days every year come to 30 days. And the moon falls behind the sun and stars to the number of 30 days. And the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single day to eternity, but complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days. In 3 years, there are 1,092 days, and in 5 years, 1,820 days, so that in 8 years, there are 2,912 days. For the moon alone, the days amount in 3 years to 1,062 days. And in 5 years, she falls 50 days behind to the sun of 1,770. There is 5 to be added, 1,062 days. And in 5 years, there are 1,770 days, so that for the moon, the days 6 and 8 years amount to 21,832 days. For in 8 years, she falls behind to the amount of 80 days. All the days she falls behind in 8 years are 80. And the year is accurately completed in conformity with their world stations and the stations of the sun, which rise from the doors through which the sun rises and sets 30 days. Chapter 75. And the leaders of the heads of the thousands, who are in charge of the whole creation and over all the stars, have also to do with the 4 days of the year which are not counted in the yearly calendar, being not separated from their office according to the reckoning of the year, and these render service on the 4 days which are not counted in the reckoning of the year. And because of them, men go wrong in them. For those luminaries truly render service to the stations of the world, one in the first door, one on the third door of heaven, one in the fourth door, and one in the sixth door. And the exactness of the year is accomplished through its separate 364 stations. For the signs and the times and the years and the days the angel Uriel showed to me, whom the Lord of glory hath set forever over all the luminaries of heaven, in heaven and in the world, that they should rule on the face of heaven and be seen on the earth, and be leaders for the day via the sun, and the night via the moon, and stars, and all the ministering creatures which make their revolution in all the chariots of heaven. In like manner, 12 doors Uriel showed me, open in the sphere of the sun's chariot in heaven, through which the rays of the sun break out, and from them is warmth diffused over the earth, when they are open in their appointed seasons. And there are openings for the wind and the spirit of dew, that when they are opened, stand open in heaven at the ends of the earth. As for the 12 doors in the heaven, at the ends of the earth, out of which go out the sun, moon, and stars, and all the works of heaven in the east and in the west, there are many windows open to the left and right of them. And one window at its appointed season produces warmth, corresponding to the doors from which the stars come out as he has commanded them, and in which they are set, corresponding to their number. And I saw chariots in heaven running in the world above those doors in which the stars that never set. And one is larger than all the rest, and it is that makes its course through the entire world. Chapter 76. At the end of the earth, I saw 12 doors open to all quarters of heaven, from which the winds go out and blow over the earth. 3 of them are open on the face of heaven, and 3 in the west, and 3 on the right of heaven, and 3 on the left. And the 3 first are those of the east, and 3 are of the north, and 3 after those on the left, of the south, and 3 of the west. Through 4 of these come winds of blessing and prosperity, and from those 8 come hurtful winds. When they are sent, they bring destruction on all the earth, and the water on it, and on all who dwell on it, and on everything which is in the water and on the land. And the first wind from those doors, called the east wind, comes out through the first door, which is in the east, inclining towards the south from its desolation. Drought, heat, and destruction come out. And through the second door in the middle comes what is fitting, and there come rain and fruitfulness and prosperity and dew. And through the third door, which lies towards the north, comes cold and drought. And after these comes out the south winds through 3 doors. Through the first door of them, inclining to the east, comes out a hot wind. And through the middle door next to it, there comes out fragrant smells, and dew, and rain, and prosperity, and health. And through the third door, which lies to the west, dew comes out, and also rain, locusts, and desolation. And from the 7th door in the east comes the north wind, and dew, rain, locusts, and desolation. And from the center door come health, and rain, and dew, and prosperity. And through the third door in the west come cloud, and hoarfrost, and snow, and rain, and dew, and locusts. And after these came the 4 west winds. Through the first door adjoining the north came out dew and hoarfrost, and cold and snow and frost. And from the center door come out dew and rain, and prosperity and blessing. And through the last door, which adjoins the south, come drought and desolation, and burning and destruction. And the 12 doors of the 4 quarters of heaven are therewith completed, and all their laws, and all their plagues, and all their benefactions, have I shown to you, my son Methuselah. Chapter 77. And the first quarter is called the east, because it is the first. And the second, the south, because the Most High will descend from there. From there will he who is blessed forever descend. And the west quarter is named the diminished, because there all the luminaries of the heaven wane and go down. And the fourth quarter, named the north, is divided into 3 parts. The first of them is for the dwelling of men, and the second contains seas of water, and the abyss, and forests, and rivers, and darkness, and clouds. And the third part contains the garden of righteousness. I saw 7 high mountains, higher than all the mountains which are on the earth. And from here comes hoarfrost, and days, seasons, and years pass away. I saw 7 rivers on the earth, larger than all the rivers. One of them, coming from the west, pours its waters into the great sea. And these 2 come from the north to the sea, and pour their waters into the Eurythean Sea in the east. And the remaining 4 come out on the side of the north to their own sea, 2 of them to the Eurythean Sea, and 2 into the great sea. And some say they discharge themselves there into the desert. I saw 7 great islands in the sea and in the mainland, 2 in the mainland and 5 in the great sea. Chapter 78. And the names of the sun are the following. The first, Orjaris, Orjaris, Orjares, Orjaris, and the second, Thomas. And the moon has 4 names. The first name is Asanya, the second, Ebla, the third, Benes, and the fourth, Ire. These are the 2 great luminaries. Their spheres are like the sphere of the heaven, and the size of the spheres of both is alike. In the sphere of the sun there are 7 portions of light, which are added to it more than to the moon. And in fixed measurements, it is transferred until the 7th portion of the sun is exalted. And they set and enter the doors of the west, and make their revolution by the north, and come out through the eastern doors on the face of heaven. And when the moon rises, 1/14th part appears in heaven. And on the 14th day, the moon's light becomes full. And 15 parts of light are transferred to her until the 15th day, when her light is full, according to the sign of the year, and she becomes 15 parts. and the moon grows by an additional 14 parts. And as the moon's waning decreases on the first day to 14 parts of her light, on the second to 13 parts of light, on the third to 12, on the fourth to 11, on the fifth to 10, on the sixth to 9, on the seventh to 8, on the eighth to 7, on the ninth to 6, on the 10th to 5, on the 11th to 4, on the 12th to 3, on the 13th to 2, on the 14th to the half of a seventh, and all her remaining light disappears wholly on the 15th. And in certain months, the month has 29 days, and once 28. And Uriel showed me another law. When light is transferred to the moon, and on which side it is transferred to her by the sun. During all the period during which the moon is growing in her light, she is transferring it to herself when opposite to the sun. During 14 days, her light is full in heaven. And when she is ablaze throughout, her light is full in heaven. And on the first day, she is called the new moon. For on that day, the light rises on her. She becomes full moon exactly on the day when the sun sets in the west, and from the east she rises at night. And the moon shines the whole night through until the sun rises over against her, and the moon is seen over against the sun. On the side whence the light of the moon comes out, there again she wanes until all the light vanishes and all the days of the month are at an end, and her sphere is empty, void of light. In 3 months she makes of 30 days, and at her time she makes 3 months of 29 days, in which she accomplishes her waning in the first period of time, and in the first door for 177 days. And in the time of her going out, she appears for 3 months, consisting of 30 days each. And she appears for 3 months, consisting of 29 each. By night, she looks like a man for 20 days each time. And by day, she appears like heaven. And there is nothing else in her save her light. Chapter 79. And now, my son Methuselah, I have shown you everything, and the law of all the stars of heaven is completed. And he showed me all the laws of these for every day, and for every season of every rule, and for every year, and for its going out, and for the order prescribed to it every month and every week. And the waning of the moon, which takes place in the 6th door, for in this 6th door her light is accomplished. And after that there is the beginning of the waning. And the waning which takes place in the first door in its season, until 177 days are accomplished, calculated according to weeks, 25 weeks and 2 days. She falls behind the sun and the order of the stars exactly 5 days in the course of one period. And when this place, which you see, has been traversed, such is the picture and sketch of every luminary which Uriel, the archangel, who is their leader, showed me. Thank you, family. God bless.